In today's video, we'll be looking at the assumptions for projectile motion. So we're beginning 2D kinematics. Assumption for projectile motion. For horizontal, there is no acceleration, initial velocity and final velocity, and all velocities in the horizontal direction are all the same. Displacement is usually positive unless specified to be in a negative direction. For the vertical, acceleration is negative 9.8. Velocity is always changing, and when an object is dropped or has a horizontal initial velocity is 0. When the object is falling, displacement is negative. Now let's take a look at what affects the path of a projectile. The horizontal characteristics only affect the horizontal motion. So we're going to have to keep our mind that horizontal and vertical are completely separate. No matter how fast the object is moving vertically, horizontal velocity is going to remain the same. If you look at this image here of a cannonball being shot out of a cannon, you will notice that as time goes on, you can see the path of the projectile. Not only that, but you'll notice that Vy is continuously changing, whereas Vx is remaining constant the entire time. If two objects start off with only horizontal velocity, the faster object will be further away than the slower object. Now if you look at this next demonstration, what the attempt is set up to do is to have one object have a horizontal velocity as their initial velocity, and the other object is just falling. So in other words, they have two different horizontal velocities. Now if you look closely at when they hit the floor, both objects hit the ground at the exact same time. Are they going different velocities? Yes, they are. But the component of the vertical velocity will be the same, and the component of the horizontal velocity will remain the same for each object individually. So as time goes on, the object with the initial horizontal velocity will move further and further away from the origin. So more time, the longer it falls, the more displacement you're going to get. An object with more height will also tend to move further because it has more time. So if this object that was that had an initial horizontal velocity was higher up, by the time it hits the ground, it would have moved even further away. The mass of the object is not going to affect path. For this physics class, we live in a perfect world where there is no air and no air resistance. So if we were to drop a feather and a bowling ball in a big old vacuum where there's no air, they would actually fall at the same rate. What makes a feather fall slower than a bowling ball is the air resistance. So to make things a lot easier, we are neglecting air resistance for this class.